Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about Josh Gordon, wide receiver of the New England Patriots, being reinstated and being able to play going into the 2019 fantasy football season. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the entire situation and then the fantasy implications on where I think he should be valued going into our seasons and pretty much that kind of stuff. Now, before we begin, let me remind all of you, if you haven't already, there has been a huge influx in supporters and subscribers as of late, so I continue to encourage, for those of you who have not subscribed, please subscribe, join the community. Fantasy content on the daily throughout the entirety of the 2019 season. On top of that, if you haven't yet already, click that bell notification button to know when my latest videos are out. Now also, for those of you who are interested in information on my Patreon, PayPal down below, in which you can find a way to get my 2019 fantasy football draft guide along with being able to play in the league with me. Drafts start tomorrow, so the cutoff for tomorrow's drafts will be tonight. So if you sign up, that's the way to do it, and that'll be via Patreon, draft guide and stuff. If you don't want to touch Patreon, via PayPal. All the information is down below. Alrighty, hey everybody. Okay, so we're talking about Josh Gordon. Really quickly, before we talk about fantasy or anything of that nature, I kind of want to just talk about Josh Gordon himself. Last season in December, week 15, 14-ish, he was obviously put on the commissioner's exempt list. Now, that pretty much does not allow you to play. It's pretty much a suspension, but not really, due to the fact that he has had substance abuse happenings in the past, and to be honest, majority of it has to do with marijuana. The NFL, they're on a 3-strike policy at this point. Because of how many times he's broken the rules, he had to be thrown on the commissioner's exempt list. Thankfully, he was able to get the backing of the New England Patriots. They were able to send him to rehab, deal with his mental health issues, all the demons that he fought, and he's getting back into it. Obviously, if they've reinstated him, he's healthy, and he's ready to get back to work. So props to Josh Gordon for getting back, because listen, anytime there's a room for redemption or to make better of yourself, I'm all for it. I had a comment yesterday in the comment section saying, Andrew, what players are you most excited to watch this coming season? Like, not fantasy related, but just players in general. And almost all of them that I mentioned, or at least came to mind, were players that were injured last year. I always love to see redemption stories and or comebacks. I love comeback players of the year. Andrew Luck last year. That kind of stuff that fires me up and gets me excited. So we're talking about Josh Gordon. Now, if you've been around the channel for quite some time, you'll know that just this past Sunday, Andrew somehow managed to predict the future. And exactly what does that mean? Well, I'm about to show you exactly what that means. So this past Sunday, during I think it was my preseason one standouts. Preseason week 1 standouts. I talked about every single game. Specifically, I talked about the Detroit Lions versus the Patriots. Now, a little conversation came up, and the following happened. So let's go ahead and let's watch exactly what Andrew was talking about on that day, shall we? Here we go. What I've noticed is that, funny enough, Nikhil Harry has changed his jersey number, a couple times this week. He was 50-something, which the Patriots do with all their rookies. They always give their rookies the number 50 until they kind of earn their stripes. And then he was number 10, which was Josh Gordon's number. And then they forced him to change the number to number 8. So outside looking in, is that a nod to Josh Gordon potentially getting reinstated? If that's the case, Josh Gordon, man, fantasy implication-wise, he's a guy that 100% can be the wide receiver 1 of this Patriots team. He looked good last year playing and could potentially, if he gets back, be another good contributor to this offense. Okay, so as you can see, Andrew is in the business of sometimes predicting the future. And to be honest, a lot of people saw that as like a throwaway storyline that was thrown around last week, but it made sense. It 150% made sense that if they were going to take away number 10 from Nikhil Harry, and Josh Gordon's been wearing that number for the Patriots, I mean, it's perfect. And I know there was someone in the comment section that was like, yeah, I watched that section, I picked him up, and now I have Josh Gordon for free in my league, no big deal. That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic, and that's exactly what we're talking about now. So here we go. Let me talk about Josh Gordon and his fantasy value, because I know a lot of people are going to be a little skeptical on the idea of picking up Josh Gordon, and 100% so. I think you should be skeptical. You should be very conservative in your approach to Josh Gordon because of his storied history. But what is the most alluring thing? What is the spark, that little, I don't even know, there's not even a word to describe it. There is the it factor that Josh Gordon has that absolutely separates him from many other wide receivers in the National Football League, which is why there are so many Josh Gordon truthers. There are so many people in the industry that love Josh Gordon, and rightfully so. But the fact of the matter is, he really hasn't had a great season since 2013. He hasn't really played a full season since 2013. But in that year, okay, this is why so many people want to grab onto Josh Gordon and hope that he can become the wide receiver he was meant to become in his career. In 2013, in 14 games with the Cleveland Browns, yes, that's right, the 2013 Cleveland Browns, Josh Gordon produced one of the best wide receiver seasons you can ask for in a wide receiver. That season, he had 159 targets, 87 receptions, 1,646 receiving yards, 9 receiving touchdowns, 88 rushing yards, all averaging out to 19.35 fantasy points per week in half PPR scoring formats. So you're thinking to yourself, wow, Josh Gordon was pretty good back then. Absolutely. He was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was the number one wide receiver in that year in half PPR. So Josh Gordon has been great in the past. Now, the following year in 2014 till now, he's only played 22 games. So since 2014, he's only played 22 games in the National Football League, obviously because of the off-the-field issues that have plagued him. Now, that does not mean that his talent has disappeared, because we saw him get another opportunity with the New England Patriots last year as they traded for him. I think in the beginning of the season, I think it was after week 1, they traded for him. They gave him the opportunity to join an organization that is in the business of winning championships, plain and simple, with one of the best quarterbacks of all time, if not the. So joining the organization, he was pretty good. Last season, he only played 12 games with the New England Patriots, averaged 9.85 fantasy points per game in half PPR. So we should definitely look at that sample size, because really this is the only sample size we've seen from Gordon in the last 5 years, really, truth be told. So looking at that sample size, what he was able to do with the Patriots last year, 9.85 fantasy points per game, that's nothing, nothing to go home about and say, oh my God, we're drafting Josh Gordon this year. And it's nothing to say, I'm going to completely avoid him. I think he has really good value going into this season, but there's different things that we need to look into, right? Besides the value of Josh Gordon, a lot of you are going to be asking me, what do you think of the potential value of Edelman going forward, potentially Nikhil Harry, potentially James White? How does Josh Gordon coming back into this offense help this offense? We know that the New England Patriots have lost Cordell Patterson, Brandon Cooks, Rob Gronkowski, Danny Amendola, Chris Hogan. They've lost a lot of wide receivers over the last couple years, in the last 2 years specifically. So there's a lot of talent missing, and there's a lot of room for opportunity for someone to step up within this offense. And I think now that Josh Gordon is coming back, he has been reinstated, there's some good room for him to be a good wide receiver for this New England Patriots offense. So let's talk about Edelman to start out with, okay? Julian Edelman last season with Josh Gordon was pretty good. Now, I don't want to hear the argument of anybody saying that Julian Edelman should go down in rankings. He's not going to be as good. He's not going to be targeted as much. That's just false. It's just BS. That's smoke that people are trying to find in order to give a reason to undervalue Julian Edelman, okay? I looked at the stats, and since 2013, Julian Edelman has played 63 games in the National Football League. In those 63 games, he's averaged 12.83 fantasy points per game in half PPR without Josh Gordon in the game. Okay, so from 2013 to 2018, without Josh Gordon, 12.83 fantasy points per game. When we add Josh Gordon into the equation, last season, when they played together from weeks 6 to 14, Julian Edelman averaged 13.1 fantasy points per game. So if not anything, he was better with Josh Gordon on the field. So I don't want to hear this mumbo jumbo that Josh Gordon is somehow going to come into this organization and make Julian Edelman a less viable fantasy prospect. That's absolutely false. I've got the numbers. So if you want to dispute it, go down to the comment section. We can throw some metaphorical hands via statistics, okay? I don't want to hear it, okay? So also on top of that, speaking of Josh Gordon, Josh Gordon last season in games where Rob Gronkowski wasn't on the field, because I know many of you have heard around the industry, we all talk about Edelman because of the fact that how good he was last season and throughout his entire career when Rob Gronkowski's been hurt. Julian Edelman's been great. That also stands for Josh Gordon. In Josh Gordon's 3 games that he played without Rob Gronkowski in the lineup last year, in those 3 games, 28 targets, 13 receptions. Now, I understand 13 receptions on 28 targets is terrible, but there's always room to improve, and that's hopefully where we're going to get to. We're going to get to maybe 20 out of 28 receptions, but I digress. But either way, 28 targets, 13 receptions, 311 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown, averaging about 11.2 fantasy points per game in half PPR without Gronkowski in the lineup. So just putting it into a perspective, we should expect Josh Gordon to basically be what he was last year. 9.85 fantasy points per game. That seems about right. That's nothing disparaging or too valuable for a guy like Josh Gordon. I understand. Right now, we don't have too much knowledge on the information. Is he healthy? Is there any ailing injuries that he's bought, besides the mental health, whatever? Is there any issue with his conditioning? Has he been practicing? Has he been working out? That's the questions, right? Does he have some rust? Do we need to rub that off? Is he practicing? These are the questions that we want to know. Right? Obviously, in the coming days, we're going to get that information. And as we progressively get more and more information going into the 2019 season, Josh Gordon looks like a pretty good prospect. Man, my nose itches. My mustache is messing me up. Everything. Okay. Anyway, we're talking about Josh Gordon. I don't want to get off track. The whole point is, I think Julian Edelman in the lineup is better with him there. Okay? He's not going to be hurt because of Josh Gordon's presence. If anything, it helps, because if you got to worry about a guy over the top, your slot receiver is going to just be taking all these dump off passes and being perfect. On top of it, James White, I don't think his work is ever going to be diminished because of a wide receiver joining the offense. James White is a safety blanket. I mean, we saw it last year with Julian Edelman's not there. Even with Gordon in the lineup and other guys. To be honest, James White was number 1 wide receiver of that Patriots offense. He was targeted so often and was such a reliable option out of the backfield that he's not going to be affected. Sure, Nikhil Harry, who is dealing with injuries that I talked about on Sunday, he had 2 receptions, came off the field limping. This is already the bad part for Nikhil Harry. That's the worrisome. Another thing, because Nikhil Harry doesn't have as much experience, if Demaryius Thomas is to make the 53-man roster this offseason, Demaryius Thomas, as soon as he comes back, could also be another contributor in this offense that could potentially, as of right now, vie for some spots there for Nikhil Harry to maybe even end up out of the starting lineup come the first year of his career, especially now that he's dealing with injuries. If he doesn't come back quickly and get some experience here and there, it's going to be a little rough for him. But all in all, I think Josh Gordon into 2019, let's talk about where I believe you should be drafting him as of right now. Now that we've been given this information, I'm comfortable with the idea of having a conservative ranking to the point where I'm not completely losing my mind. I'm not saying this guy's he's not going to be a wide receiver 1 this year, and I don't think anybody is. But just to put it in perspective, I think as of right now, what he was able to produce in those 12 games last year, I think it was 700-something receiving yards, handful of touchdowns, 40-some-odd receptions. Pretty decent base there. But going into 2019 with so much opportunity, especially in the passing game with the Patriots because of how many receivers they've gotten rid of over the last couple of years, I think right now Josh Gordon at my number 28 wide receiver. For those of you who have the draft kit, you can kind of fill that in. By the way, updates come in on Monday for the draft kit, so it will have the Josh Gordon and Andrew Luck will move around. Yeah. Anyway, so as of right now, Josh Gordon, my number 28 wide receiver, I feel pretty confident about that. Maybe 29, but to be honest, I feel comfortable having him as a wide receiver 3 going into the 2019 season, as long as we see some progression in the next couple weeks. If he's not practicing, by at least the next Sunday, there's a little bit of worry from me, and then we'll adjust. But as of right now, I think he has a very good opportunity this year to be a main contributor as long as he, stays healthy, and just cares about football. Just focus on football, Josh Gordon. Please, for all of us, just focus on it. Get better and just improve, baby. That's all we want, all right? We're happy that you're back, Josh Gordon. It's absolutely fantastic. If anybody's got any questions, comments down below. Like this video if you like me talking about wide receivers as such. I think I posted a wide receiver video, strength of schedule, yesterday, so you can check that out. Is there anything Andrew's forgetting in terms of Josh Gordon? I think when he joins this offense, there's no reason to believe that everyone isn't going to improve because of this. Sure, Philip Dorsett might not play. Maybe he's taken the L in this situation, Nikhil Harry. But I think as an entire offense, as a singular unit, I think everyone has a pretty good opportunity to improve because statistically, because if in fact you have a guy like Josh Gordon stretching the field and making plays, there is always a chance that you're going to get that third down that you wouldn't have gotten. And because of it, Sony Michel gets that goal line touch. And there's always, as long as your offense is improving and you have more weapons and you can facilitate with Brady's skills, I think the offense stands to improve as a whole, and it's going to help everyone's production, in my opinion, except for those couple wide receivers that might end up, because of their lack of experience, being pushed down the depth chart. But that is what it is. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Subscribe, like, comment below if you feel necessary. Tomorrow we will be doing the Week 2 preseason standouts. So if you want to go ahead and watch that tomorrow, probably midday will be released. Andrew will probably somehow try to predict the future again and hopefully come true. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Josh Gordon, for coming back. Redemption is always my favorite cookie recipe. And until next time, which is tomorrow, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys. Peace.